So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to a long awaited scene for Edessa, the Dark Crusade, where the Malkavians have been of late suffering extreme pangs of hunger, dangerously extreme pangs of hunger, and considering the current, shall we say, record in regards to Mina and what happens when her hunger becomes overpowering. Well, she has been, just ever so caringly, and admittedly at her own insistence, when she's lucid, locked away. And so it is that, with her lucidity consistently returned at this point, and the hunger down to the levels it really should be, she is finally to a point where the heavy, heavy door in the haven where she has been kept is left unlocked, unchained. And she is, I'll assume, just waking in a familiar bed, one that she's spent much of her time in, rubbing at her face, finally, as she does, I imagine, every morning, taking a moment to kind of stare at those odd tallies that just won't heal off of her wrist, no matter what she does. And, just laying there, staring at the ceiling.
You will hear this soft humming, the sound of a harp string plucking lightly, beautifully. Echo seems to echo around. It's this soft, deep, sad, incredibly sad song.
And as usual, Mina is familiar with and responsive to the harp. And thus it is that she will go ahead and heave herself up out of the bed, shaking off the last of that eerie torpidity that takes her during the day, and, turning, setting her feet on the floor, perhaps reaching out to grasp a change of clothes, now that she isn't ruining them every night. And, yeah, as she kind of tugs the hair up out of the back of the neck of the tunic, heading towards the door, just puttering along barefoot. It's not as though she's going outside, not until she is sure, absolutely sure, that it's safe. But yeah, she'll meander to the door and heave it open. Again, very heavy door. Good plan. And we'll begin just puttering barefoot through the halls in Garnet's home, hunting out the harp.
The song seems to just carry as you the doom 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 doom, as the voice just seems to echo, as if someone you would think, Mina, someone had died. As if the world itself had just, was even sadder than you realized before, and almost yourself, you feel it in your mind and in your soul. Just a sadness. You're not quite sure why, but it's beautiful and horror, beautiful and broken. As you eventually come to the door of your brother, you push it open slightly, and there he is, hunched over the harp, just singing as he strums very gently along the harp, his hair down. He hasn't cut it like he normally does when he goes out, and it just flies down in beautiful locks. In ragged, long string clothing. You see the whip marks on his back.
And she nudges the door open gently, carefully, but not going to pains to keep it from squeaking or groaning. And in much the same way, while she won't make excessive noise, she doesn't shield the fact that, her feet pat lightly on the floor as she eases into the room, leaving the door cracked open behind her. Don't interrupt the song either. In fact, she will just come to stand close by to listen, watch him play.
I'll put this into perspective. It's 4 successes on the melody and the singing, and it's just he doesn't even seem to notice you're there. Really, just the song just seems to doesn't pick up any sort of noticeable pace. It just seems to continue on. Just this sadness.
I imagine it's the kind of thing that, with that many successes, kind of resonates and,
Mm-hmm.
like most music, kind of draws forth an emotional state. So she's just kind of listening and riding along and will eventually come to stand, all but beside him, just watching him play. If he keeps on long enough, she'll eventually just seat herself there.
The eyes are closed, but you can see the blood tears coming out of his face, sliding down slowly and dripping onto the floor.
Her brother is far more advanced than she. No, she just watches, kind of in, touched by this music, but at the same time, probably honestly kind of fascinated because the way he pushes into things, the way he embraces things, he's it's like someone who can barely doggy paddle watching a professional swimmer just fucking rocket through the water. It's something she aspires to in a weird way. So she just, yeah, she'll eventually kind of sweep the tunic under her and kneel down and settle. She's not going to speak. She's not going to interrupt. She's not going to touch him. She's just going to nestle there and listen and watch. Enjoy the music, but see the tears and just kind of study him almost.
You can roll a perception empathy if you would like.
Oh,
It's
well.
true, and that's a dice roller 1.
Dice roller 1. Good roll. Well, reasonably good roll. 3 successes.
So with 3, it's not sadness, although the melody is haunting. Whoever he's singing about, you would figure maybe it was like a lost love. But Garnet himself is not sad. It's almost as if it's like someone who is about to stand on the precipice, and you know that adrenaline coursing to your body, your heart seems to beat as if you're about to do something that you know is so joyous and so ruckus, but it's almost as if he's savoring that feeling, that rush of emotion, but there is this frailty beneath him. It's like a combination of both, that it's someone who has attained something, but they're not quite sure what. And they're excited. And still sad by the things that they can't see still.
I imagine with enough time left to her own devices, even though she knows he can respond very sharply to touch. Again, it's almost like a childish fascination because she can't see what he's seeing. She can't hear what he's hearing. And she'll eventually kind of reach up and very tentatively, very lightly, like the slightest brush of a finger will will reach up to just kind of brush across where some of the blood tears have flowed down his face.
And when you touch him, the eyes open. Those green, beautiful green eyes lock with yours almost immediately. Not out of anger, but out of just this confusing stare, as if he's seen you for the very first time.
The hand almost immediately, snaps back a couple inches, not like lunging back to her chest or anything. She's not recoiling in terror, just as soon as there's that rapid response, the fingers kind of, pull themselves back, dart back. The hand's still held upwards, just, I would say, equivalently not within snapping distance, as it were. And she, you know what, is not scared of eye contact. She looks him in the eyes, kind of studies it, and I will roll another P&E because she's looking really fucking hard. She's trying to grasp. No successes on that.
It's just too hard. It's that stare. So mysterious and so deep. You just can't. Yasmina?
Good evening, brother. Her handle slowly kind of folds back onto her lap. Maybe the tiniest, like, little bit of blood has gotten on a fingertip, but that's that's about it to mark the touch.
He just slowly stands. Again, it's almost as if that frailty is just vanishing. He just slowly stands and walks over to the basin and just dips his face in. When he dips his face out, the blood is just washes off like water. Slowly, as if from Mina, every sensation just seems slower to you as you're watching him.
Oh, and she is.
The hunger has left.
Yes.
For both of us.
Kind of squints because, let's be honest, she was probably pretty caught up in her own struggle. I suppose
The
so.
world. The world sings and we all try to dance to hear it again.
That's a song I would. I guess there'll be kind of a pause, and she'll start kind of picking herself up off the floor since he's not engaging immediately. I think in this case, it's a song I would be happy not to hear again. Brushes
Would
down her
you?
tunic.
You see him looking down at the water, like it drips off his long locks. Would you? Are you afraid of it? Still hasn't turned to look at you.
She kind of cants her head, even though he's not looking. The head kind of twists to the side. And she kind of thinks about it, really. Only how the consequences for an immediate want would keep me from getting what I really want.
I see. But that song is the song that we all know. Song to the end of time. Can't you feel it?
Kind of, again, straightens her head. I had meant the hunger, not your song. Your song was beautiful.
Did you not hear it, Mina? Calling your name.
And again, he's not looking, but her head still kind of almost like ashamedly gives a shake.
Just the far awayness of that voice. It's almost like he's lost in something.
I don't hear what you hear. You know that.
Did you not hear at all? You spent long enough caging away.
I don't hear the same things you do.
He just leans back again.
There's just that tiny touch of bitterness on the final statement.
Oh, but you had the chance to hear it. And you just wanted it all one motion away. You're like a girl with three wishes and don't know which to wish for next.
She has maybe been playing with her hands for a moment. Though she glances up at his back as he says that. Maybe I'm stuck on the phrasing.
Maybe you just wanted to see her awake again.
She begins slowly to kind of ease her way around him because it frustrates her desperately not to see his expression. And she wants to believe he's just making fun of her because if he's not, then she's earnestly not understanding something.
You walk around and you just see his eyes are closed, his hands trace along the water.
I don't know what you mean.
No. No, you don't. Not yet, at least. Too busy. Too busy to see and hear and understand everything so quickly.
She kind of finally squints. Almost almost the in this weirdly ever so slightly mistrustful way.
As if the whole world will come to you if you just. He stretches his hand out almost sadly towards something. If you just reach far enough. Maybe this time the thrill will catch you. And make you forget. And one day wake.
Maybe so.
Hmm. He just turns and looks at you, just doesn't say anything, just seems to walk very slowly towards one of his dressers. And just removes this ragged shirt that's been got blood, dry blood all over it, and just slowly unfolds it off. As you see the extent of the crisscross lashings all over his back.
That that tinge of distrust kind of eases as she watches, but yeah, she just stares. She's familiar with the scars. She's seen them on many occasions.
What are you so afraid of? This lost soft shirt just seems to slide over his hands as it descends over his head.
What do you think I'm afraid of?
Me. Everything.
I'm afraid of you, dear brother. I've done myself a terrible disservice by asking to stay with you.
Just take slow steps towards her then.
She's still just kind of in observation mode, just watching. She doesn't step away, she doesn't step forward, she doesn't lean. She just watches, lets him come right up to her.
Do you always reply with sarcasm when you think you might gain the right answer? Or is it some attempt to hide? I've always been curious.
There's just the tiniest. I mean, you know what a bitch face is. It's just the tiniest little souring of expression.
So quick to anger. So quick to distrust. When did you become so hateful?
It's been hard here. It's not like back home.
There was a time when I would look at you. Stretches his hand out slowly, delicately, as if he's about to break something if he touches it too fast. Reaching for her cheek.
Again, she doesn't sway away. She doesn't sway forward either for the moment. She's kind of stuck in place, really.
There was a time when I would look at you and you would look back, like you wanted to learn. Now, I just see someone trying to pound away at the barriers and then scream because she won't listen. What happened to the little girl that used to chase and then wonder instead of cry and scream when she thought she could hunt?
You wanted me to do it myself.
Did I?
And finally, there's, especially if he is, I assume he has reached out and actually touched her cheek.
Mm-hmm.
That finally just, it's the slightest motion, but she eases it further into his palm. It's the tiniest bit.
Or maybe just I thought you'd wander far enough to ask, but you never did.
Ask what?
Oh, you don't even know the question.
Can't be mad at me for not asking and then not answer when I ask.
But you even don't know the question. You won't allow yourself to even think of it. Speak it, breathe it, feel it. Why would I be mad at something that hasn't pushed yet? If anything, I'm sorry for you. My sweet little Mina.
The frustration, it's there. It's a certain hardness in her eyes. It's just, it's not the playful nose wrinkles and all that. It's just, it's pretty evident. There's a slight stiffness. Just, it wrinkles her. I don't know what you want me to ask. It's not nice to tease me.
He just lets a sad, sad sigh as he returns his hands away to turn away from you.
She kind of it's a couple moments after the hand. Like still is on its way back, but it's a couple moments after it breaks contact that she finally straightens her head again. Doing so a little stiffly again, just as if catching herself. Though her arms do come up, kind of cross over in front of her, just grasping at the opposite elbow, pulling them in.
Hiding away from me as always.
I don't know what you want. I'm not good at this game anymore.
I can't talk to you when you want to hide. Because that's what you're doing. Hiding away. Stiff. You just growl suddenly. And twisted. Gnarled. Make sure they don't see. Make sure they don't feel. Because they have to feel it all. Trapped. And completely. As he softens. Restricted. How can I talk to something that will never open? Or won't open because it's afraid to open? When I'm just standing here waiting for Yasmina to finally see me. My beautiful girl of 3 wishes.
And admittedly, especially as the tone shifts, she goes from some measure of internalizing, some mulling, some of that withdrawal kind of snaps as she very abruptly sets all of her attention on him. Because yet again, she spent a great deal of time with Garnet, but that doesn't make him by any means predictable. I thought you were tired of me.
He sits down by the harp and you hear that doom 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 playing softly. Tired. If I was tired, Mina would not dance these halls.
And she'll kind of slowly follow back over towards the harp. Reach out. He'll just barely feel it because, I mean, one only feels their hair so much. She kind of reaches out, touches where it's trailing down his back. You made it seem as though you had much better things to do, dear brother,
I see.
and much more important people to speak to.
When you hide away, what is a man to do but wait for his girl of 3 wishes to return? Hoping she'll one day wake. And then when he says that, that soft strumming starts again.
wasn't able to make you anything but angry. This time there's just a vague sheepish tone. The fingers go from brushing just barely through his hair to kind of touching the back of the shirt. She eases a step closer.
Hmm. Alone you slept all this time, waiting, hoping. But no longer wishing for the 3 wishes you've got yourself in your hand anymore. Just an empty thing. Hmm.
How else would I sleep? You told me to leave.
Because you, deep down, wanted the revenge you never could take. To see your sister wish you death is an interesting thing.
I don't want you dead.
But you felt it.
I've been angry, but I've never wanted you dead.
Hmm.
Just has this slightly more confidence, stepping again a touch closer, a bit around the side, still brushing through the hair, pulling a bit of it forward over his shoulder.
And now you think you can stand there telling me what you were.
You know me better, brother, than I do. I don't think I would be surprised. There's no sarcasm there. She seems to earnestly believe it.
Hmm. I knew the girl you were, not the girl that stands before me now.
Is it possible for us to still be innocent like this? I like to think I was.
You're not innocent, you're ignorant. I turned for look at her for the first time, properly. You choose not to listen. You choose not to hear. There was a time when you did. Now, you're more concerned with pushing instead of embracing.
It's very hard to embrace something that you don't think wants to hold you.
Stands up slowly. That sounds like an excuse of a child.
You see the jaw clench a little bit.
Sounds like an excuse of someone who is so close to attaining the thing that they want, but is too afraid to take that step. But the song is there waiting for you. He spreads his hands. You just have to choose. Push or embrace. I'ma roll some shit.
Do it.
Spending a willpower. Oh, 3.
What's he doing there, buddy?
Appearance subterfuge.
It'll be Is he what, still sitting or is he stood?
Standing, spreading his hands.
It's it's not the kind of embrace she might have given him in the past, eagerly leaping into his arms. But she does just kind of like more like someone who knows that they've done something wrong almost. Just kind of putters hopefully and until she's like bumped into his chest, well within distance to wrap his arms around her. In fact, going like right up to him, just kind of bowing her head to lay on this stained shirt. It's a surprisingly humble gesture from her, especially of late. She just walks in.
And you feel his hands softly go up his hair, or her hair, very gently, very softly.
And he'll feel like again her hands are kind of in, but all the same, he'll feel her begin kind of not like full on clutching at his shirt, just kind of playing with it, but easing into him a little more, especially as the hands come up to her.
You made your choice.
I didn't mean to stray away. I did it, but I didn't mean to. I was angry.
Anger is such a violent thing. However, to lament on anger when it's needless is a very foolish thing indeed. Wouldn't you think?
And he won't see it with her, her face bowed against him, but she kind of takes on this almost regretful half smile. You can hear it a bit in the voice. Seem to have made a habit of doing foolish things, brother.
Or perhaps you can correct that behavior for me. Even with a little test.
She finally kind of glances up. Not nearly as put off by the idea as she might have been even a couple minutes ago.
One of the Vogue, the old second in command, is launching a very complicated conflict. He's pushing. I am engaging. I'm actually quite impressed. However, his actions are causing many conflict to arise in Riverside. For everyone. Perhaps you could show him and show me you're truly capable and truly on the right path again. My sweet sister, by guiding him to a better life. Rolling again. And the willpower, because I'm definitely going to get it back this scene. That is 4 successes on another appearance subterfuge roll.
In that case, I'll say she definitely at this point loosens up enough to kind of tentatively. Again, she's not as eager with this as she has been in the past, perhaps expecting to get rebuffed, but nonetheless finally stretches out drapes her arms around him, laying her cheek on his chest. Is that all?
Make sure you give him a fitting message.
Do you want him to live?
No, no. I want you to make him afraid. Right at the end. Hold his life in your hands. And know what it is to feel power. If you can do this, then I'll show you how to truly break someone. Faces her chin up almost sharply. And those eyes. Oh, Nelly, those eyes.
All things considered, Mina intensifies. Like you told me.
This is your first test.
Is he kind? This man.
Nods, from what I understand, yes. Second in command to the former Volg leader, proving quite a troublesome adversary.
If you show him to me, I will do it.
He will give a bit base description of the man and clench her cheek. You have to find him.
Finally, she eases into just the barest edge of that usual grin. If he is in Riverside, it will not be hard.
Wow. Consider this your test, your hunt, my dear Mina. Do this, and I'll truly see if you're truly the girl of 3 wishes that I hoped you'd be.
The head slightly tilts, even even with the hand clenching her chin. The grin widens. And once I've made him scream and cry and beg for you,
Your gift. The gift of death. So long as he does not interfere with my plans and no more. I think death is the most fitting, don't you think?
no, perfectly.
Then take him and bathe in it. That excited whisper into her ear. Incredibly snake-like, but yet so intimate, and the touch on her arm, her cheek, her hair is almost as if like that touch is so sensitive and so intimate, but the whisper so feral.
I mean, she practically vibrates. She'll even, especially if he's leaning down to whisper to her, will tilt her head around to whisper back. Shit. With relish, darling brother. Did you think I would hesitate?
No. I merely wanted to see you smile like you used to again.
And oh, is she?
Now, let us go outside and make sure Apollo... make sure Apollo sees his god. Shall we?
There's almost the slightest bit of a pout at the mention of him.
You just remember, all you need to know is get him close, get him distant, and you help me secure the others. You lean right in, pulling her essentially by the throat right up to him, excited himself, which is a rare thing, you know?
She looks, at least briefly, kind of distracted, almost caught up in something. But the grasp and the pull, it secures her attention very thoroughly again.
Give me what you swore you would. What we agreed. And I'll open your mind to the darkest things you'll ever see. Rolling that fucking roll again. 7. That's another 3 successes.
And yeah, she goes right back to that edge of intensity. Whatever thought she was distracted by, whatever caught her, at least for a bit, it's been just ever so conveniently dismissed. All part of our understanding.
Yes. Like we agreed.
Like we agreed. And she's, of course, still now broadly smiling. And especially at that bit where she trails off, she's just looking at him.
Now go downstairs. We need to feed. Together.
Then a tiny bit of her lower lip tucks in and gets nipped on, but she nods. Turns herself about.
You won't be needing anything else other than your skin. Make them fear you.
There's a tentative glance back. That kind of, did I hear you right kind of look.
Make them fear you so when they see me, they will then love and adore us. For it is to be a god in Olympus, is it not?
And again, that fiendish smile returns, and I imagine that just on the spot, because fuck it, she'll shrug and pull off the tunic. Just leave it on the floor.
He just stands there, not looking at you, just looking out. As if nudity, whatever, skin,
I
whatever.
mean,
He just seems
yeah.
to stare out at something else. It seems like just staring out and waiting for you almost. He's like he's waiting to hear something.
Hmm. And she doffs the tunic, lets it fall, and takes another glance back just to get a gist of his reaction, and yeah, goes and eases to do just that. Me look and
And
see some shot. I imagine she will, especially as she gets to the door, passes out a hand touching the frame. Well, maybe it's a conniving thing, maybe it's unconscious, but start idly humming the same song he was playing only so long before.
as Mina makes them fear, Garnet makes them malevolent. As this is where the scene will end.